Here's the claims adjuster's information. I don't know if you got it. They said, here's what he said. I have already been able to. We're going to legal eat. Yeah, it's one of this, which doesn't matter. So I think they said there today. Or I mean, we said, I'm very, so if you want to see that, I'll have it. Also, I think it's contact number. Sorry. So somebody say, hey, Brian. Oh, good.
That's what happens when we get older.
Hey, tell me about it. Oh, that's not good. Well. Oh, Brian. Good. How you doing? Side of the road looks good to me.
That was, after the first year or so on it, and you're going through this, you're seeing numbers like that, or you're talking to these, well, especially with the start of the water project. What?
Yeah. Yeah, I knew it was about right. How you doing? All right, you didn't want it all. I don't know why.
You hear it?
Yeah, really.
Oh, wait, it's on
Yeah, what? Yeah.
there.
Because. Delay, yeah, it looks delayed. Why is it back through that? Because that's going to be annoying during the meeting. You go up there and mute. Or that. Mute the microphone.
First.
Greg, weren't you telling one of our employees that the sound was online?
Yes, exactly. Sound doesn't work. It makes noises.
Nice.
Silent movies. Hey, Julie, you're gonna have to fight my contractors from between the screens.
Hey, Julie, and then when you get closed captions, speed it up some.
It's music. Oh, really on the flip side.
We could get high ratings on this.
You're
John, I think that was more for Chris.
Oh,
Yeah, I believe.
I think you.
Yes, I got Jason on there, you got him on right now.
Huh?
Jason's on there right now.
Oh, I'm trying to get it on.
Can you hear me?
Yes. You're at,
Yep, so far.
He says.
This time, like,
That's right.
did you bring that? The trustee? Or you,
I'll have the record, so, yeah.
Okay. I know.
About that.
Neighborhood.
Call the meeting to order, would please stand and join on the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the order, will stand and join on the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic which stands.
Everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the September 2nd public hearing and regular meeting?
Move to approve.
Second. From properly moved and seconded that we approve the September 2nd, 2025 public hearing and regular meeting minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Yeah, under public comments, we have Heart of Hagerstown. Here. Chris, were you able to go to the paint?
Yes,
I think
it looked like that's really successful. Yeah.
Next up, Barry Ritter and Matthew King, interlocal agreement with fire department.
Well, Matthew's not here because of the Williamsburg. So I'm Barry Ritter, Page County resident, county council member, and public safety consultant for Wayne County, leading radio project for about the last 2.5 years. In 2023, a task force of citizens were formed across the county to identify spending plans for the ARPA dollars that the county had received. And believe it or not, one of the priorities that came out of that group of citizens was public safety communications and broadband issues across the county. That project was actually funded through the ARPA dollars and the health program that the county leveraged. Part of the money that we had for public safety communications aimed at volunteer fire departments. Now, back in the mid-2000s, when I was one director here, we addressed radio problems for volunteer fire departments. The town allows us to put antenna on top of the water tower out on one, which really helped the economy, Hagerstown area, but it didn't solve all the problems. Obviously, in the past 20 years, technology has changed and improved. And we prioritized moving volunteer fire departments from the antiquated VHF system over to the Integrated Public Safety Commission's 800 front system for the state, which operates on and others. So we're transitioning off of VHF onto the 800. In doing so, the project had two parts. One, we built 2 towers in the county, one on County Highway, another up on Elliott Road, east of Mountain City. We did that through a public-private partnership. A private company built the towers, and the county is leasing space off of that company for a fraction of the cost. That allowed us to then leverage a large percentage of those ARPA and health dollars to buy equipment for fire departments, because we knew we could not transition the 911 center and the dispatch portion to 800 and then turn to you and direct and say, oh, by the way, you know, you need to go spend $100,000 on new radios to be able to communicate. So the county, commissioners and council allowed us to use those dollars for those mobile radios, pagers, and portables for the fire department. So I surveyed each fire department to determine what amount of equipment they would need to be able to effectively communicate on the 800 system. And Wes Shepherd helped me here at Hagerstown, and we came up with that list. Now, obviously, with these pieces of equipment being purchased with ARPA dollars and one government unit to the next, we have to kill trees and print paper and enter into an interlocal agreement to give you this equipment. The county is purchasing the equipment. We're paying for it to be installed in trucks, paying for all of the training, and turning the ownership of that equipment over to the town, which means that then you become responsible for replacing batteries or antennas or repairs in the future or replacement of those radios in the future. Now, when I did this survey, you applied for a grant for some 800. Were you successful in that grant? But I anticipate you'll probably apply again because this program is not equipping everything 100% and replacing VHF. Some departments are keeping their VHF for fire around communications. Others are not, just depending on where they're located and how much equipment they need. So for Hagerstown, we'll give you 25 pagers. So there'll be the dual band pagers, 4 of the dual band portable radios, which gives the command staff, the fire department, the ability to communicate on the 800, also to communicate on VHF if they go for mutual aid in the surrounding county. Then there's 12 single band 800 portables, valued at $70,884.18 that will be given to the town. Now, in this agreement, which I had sent to Julie, and I believe she shared with your legal counsel, there's some provisions that the town has that you acknowledge that you're taking ownership. So the batteries, the antennas, all those things are yours in the future. You're not permitted to change or alter the programming templates on any of the radio devices. We are going to a standardized template in Wayne County in coordination with IPSC. So all law enforcement radios, all fire will carry the same template. Any updates, encryption keys, firmware upgrades in the future that may be required by the manufacturer is the town's responsibility. Should IPSC require an audit of radios, you're required to provide them the audit trail of where that equipment is at and who's in possession of those. You can't transfer, loan, or lease or otherwise convey the property. You can't sell it under the restrictions of the ARPA dollars. Not that you would, because you need it to communicate. And that you keep track of the serial numbers of those radios for that audit that may come from IPSC or from the county as necessary. There's no financial commitment from the town. You want to buy any of this, county's conveying it to you for no charge other than you assume ownership. And as such, county attorney has prepared the interlocal agreement for your approval and your signatures. On your approval, commissioners and council will approve it, and then we'll return fully executed copy to you. So with that, I'll yield and answer any questions.
Barry, I noticed when you were going through the list of equipment, I didn't hear anything about mold. So will these portables have enough coverage where they can be operated from inside the truck when they're like responding to a fire?
The system that was put in by Motorola is guaranteed 95% on hip coverage, which is the standard. Now, given where you're at, if you're in a type 2 structure, you're a pole barn, aluminum, you're going to be diminished. But you should be able to have no problems because here you're going to hit down where you could even hit the Newcastle Tower, because I know where you use the Newcastle. If you're southwest, you're probably going to hit the new tower on County Highway. So coverage should not be an issue. A lot of the departments prioritized portables over mobiles. Because when you're out of the truck, nobody's there, so. More radios and portables than what they have to do with mobiles.
I know a lot of police agencies have totally got away with mobiles and just use their portables all the time. I just want to make sure that the fire department can still do that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure with that guaranteed coverage, now, there's gonna be dead spots.
Sure.
But, you know, turning your body, not keeping your body between the antenna of the radio and the tower, those kinds of things. The other thing that will be provided by the vendor, by IPSC, is that all of the agencies will be required to go through training. Because it's not your portable radio that you started with,
Right.
with 2 buttons.
Yeah.
It's a computer full of zones. And those of us that are struggling with technology have to go through the training.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
$71,000 of donated equipment is pretty much.
Yes.
I don't know that we'll ever see this again in our lifetime. They were able to do.
It's far cheap.
Greg, do you have any input?
Yeah, I just, being one overdue, I knew this was coming down the road, you can see it. There's been some issues with radio operability in the side of the county for a long time on VHF. Police. Remember when we had, the fly-in down here for the Model T? We could talk from one side of the runway to the other side of the runway, so. It's this long.
I can remember
And
when
the majority of the states, they're going to, all the fire departments are already there. And
when I first came on the police department back in 1996, the portable I had, in order to hit the repeater, I had to go up to the high school and get out of my car. So,
What was that do with statute?
yeah.
John, I assume everything looks good on.
Yeah, everything looked fine. The only question I had was for the chief, just to make sure, but I mean, everything, all the requirements seem pretty standard, that you'll keep a good inventory and maintain them and all that thing, so,
yeah,
yeah.
I read it says pretty well much okay, yeah. Just get the guys to take care of the radios and things.
They are rugged, so hopefully,
Yeah.
they might survive falling off the truck. They won't survive driving. They're supposed to survive in a dump thing, though. So we'll see.
With that, do I have a motion to accept their local agreements?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we approve the interlocal agreement with the county in regards to the acceptance of fire radio equipment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I'll choose to abstain.
I'll leave these with Julie. If you could sign both copies, then I'll just come back in the next couple of days to pick them up and bring back the next new copy.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Next up, we have Klein Peter with quick discussion on a new program for us.
So, Sean Klein here Financial, I got Tim Blanchett here with Martin Thornburg. I started a conversation with Brian about the potential of the town responding to the Senate Enrollment Act 1 that's making its way through all the communities, and effectively it's gonna wind up reducing the amount of revenue that the cities and towns have to provide services. And so what I want to touch on is the potential for the town to issue what's called a general obligation bond. And in issuing that bond, they can use that bond, the proceeds from that bond, to pay for capital assets. This is a process that, if you so choose, you could do every 3 years and renew that bond. That bond is secured by property taxes and is paid off every 3 years. And so this is part of kind of capital planning for the community. I'm sure in your current budget, you've got some items which are capital in nature. You can actually roll those into a capital improvement plan and use these funds for that. I put this document together, and I'm gonna leave it with you to go through it. I put an infographic just to kind of show you the mechanics of how it goes, but the second page is a little financial on what is the potential here. And so if you look at line number 3, the town could issue up to $412,000 general obligation bonds. And in doing so, they would stay below a requirement of 0.25 per hundred. So that was a non-controlled project, so there's not referendums and everything else that have to go through as well. But that is kind of at a macro level, the potential. I'd like Kim to kind of talk to you about the mechanics of doing something like this, because you could potentially roll this into your 2026 budget still. And so with that, I'm gonna let Kim talk about it.
Hey, good evening. I'm Kim Blanchett with Barnes and Thornburg, and Sean and I have worked together in several communities. I do a lot of utility work actually on the bond side, but also some general obligation work and with other communities. And what we're seeing with Senate Enrolled Act 1 or SB1, whatever you want to call that impact, is the revenues will just be a little tight for communities, especially for cities and towns. And so what we've seen in other communities is this capital planning around general obligation bonds. And what I mean by that is if you have something come up or you're paying for police vehicles out of, I don't know how you normally, I know vehicles normally have about a useful life of about 3 years at least, or if you have other improvements that need to be done. We have done these kind of rolling general obligation bonds or GO bonds, and it is so that you guys can tie a capital plan to the issuance of those bonds. So what I suggest in the communities that it's worked well for is you have a capital plan that kind of coincides with the issuance of 400,000, let's say, which is about where you guys are. So do you guys know that your debt limit for the town? So it's 2% of your certified net assessed value, and you take a third of that number. That's your constitutional debt limit for issuing general obligation bonds. You guys don't have general obligation bonds outstanding. I don't know if the town has ever issued general obligation bonds. Maybe back in the day before.
Way back.
Okay, way back. Well, the thing that's nice about it is you can fund capital projects out of that. You cannot fund operating because they're issued on a tax exempt basis. So you can fund capital projects like roads, streets, Main Street lighting, police equipment, fire. We've done plows for the front of trucks. So anything that you sometimes pay out of your general fund that comes up, you could actually plan for these and try to kind of free up those funds in your general where capital is in nature, right? It's got to be a capital project. What I always suggest is a 3 to 4 year term kind of works nicely, because I feel like if you get too far out, you get a little removed from kind of what you have on the back, on your capital plan. And 3 years kind of works nicely because you can back into those. And it doesn't have to be a list that you have to do. It can be a kind of a, here's our world, this is what we think we're going to need in the next 3 to 4 years. And then we would put a project description that would allow you to kind of put that into a project fund. And then you would draw on that and pay for those capital projects. It's a pretty straightforward process, to be honest. It's a bond ordinance that you adopt at the council level. And then it's an additional appropriation because you probably haven't put that in your budget. So that's kind of a.
So, just a round number of the current interest rates that go on the GO bond.
I'd say you're looking at a 3 to 4.
Yeah, so Brian, when I talked to you, it was about 3.87. And I just got indicative rates today that are plus or minus about 4. So it's somewhere floating around 4%, and that's for 3 years.
Yeah.
So the shorter the term, and the lower the rate.
So these are paid off by tax dollars.
Correct.
Okay. So I like a round number. So if I use 400,000, okay, at approximately 4% interest. The question I have, does the citizens of Hagerstown is our tax dollars what pays this back, this $400,000 back, or is it a bigger area?
It's your taxpayers paying it back. However, we're making the assumption that, which is accurate in most communities, that most of them are at the caps, the 1% cap. So as a traditional, normal homeowner, you have a 1% cap I would say, how many people are at it? There's a significant amount of people in a community that are at the caps. So when you get your property tax bill, And it tells you exactly what you would owe, and then it kind of adds up all of the overlapping taxing units too, like your libraries and your schools, county. Most people are at the caps, the 1%. They're not gonna pay more than 1% of the value of their home.
That's what I was thinking. So then how does it get, so let's just assume.
Yeah.
That 100% of the residents of Hagerstown are capped.
And they may not be,
I'm just saying assume. So we're all capped.
yes,
Then how does the $400,000 get paid back?
from all the overlapping taxing units, from everyone. And that's an overlapping taxing
In
unit.
the county or in this?
In the county, the libraries, the schools do this all the time, that they,
I know.
yeah, so,
So. And you're saying
and
like,
it could be paid from your commercial, from your resident, you've got 1, 2s, and 3s, you got residential, commercial, and, rental. And they may not be at their caps.
so Sean, I know you figured this because you know I like numbers. So if nobody in Hagerstown was capped, which we know that's not true.
Right.
Okay, so I'm looking at worst and best case scenario. Approximately how much would 400 or 412,000 add to one's tax bill over a 3-year period?
So you could actually look at the additional debt service, so it's 0.2116. So that's 21 cents for every $100 assessed value for your home. So 21 cents.
21 cents on 1,000. So if you had $100,000 home assessed value, because most assessed values are actually underneath the property value of the home. So if you have 100,000, that would be 100,000 times 21 cents, right? And that's what it would cost.
Twice a year. Right, I mean, you divide it by 2 because you may know.
Yeah, but 21 for the whole
Yeah.
year,
Yeah,
which would be divided by 2.
yes.
So it's that per 1,000.
I think we did it in another community where I think it ended up being about, was $12.
That's fair.
Yeah, about $12 each tax bill, so $24 total.
Yeah, just to give you a general idea, I mean, if we kind of just look generally, more than half of your residents are at the tax limit. That's kind of a general, we're talking 60-70%. So 60-70% of the residents wouldn't see any difference, right? Only 20 or 30 of like your industrial are at their 3% tax. They would probably see an impact.
So residential's 1% and
Rentals 2 and commercials 3.
rental is 2 and
Commercials 3.
commercials 3.
Yeah, those are the 3 tax caps that went into play. What year it was?
This
That's-
answer.
Yeah, whenever Mitch Daniels was
Yeah,
there.
several years ago.
Yes,
And so, one of the reasons that I asked about so quickly is, when I was talking to Kim, there's still the potential to get it in your 2026 budget. And
I mean, you can ask for tonight, I see it's on your agenda, but you can still get it in your budget.
Before you go there, I got one
Sure.
more question. So I'm just gonna use the 400,000, because I can figure those numbers. Is that, it's a 3-year obligation, that money comes in thirds, don't it? Or do we get the full 400,000 right up the
The
front?
latter, you'll get the full 400 right up front.
Right.
So you can invest that money in an investment which is actually earning,
5%.
right, pretty good. Well, I'd like to know what you're using, because I'm not getting 5, but okay, yeah. So yes, you can take that money, it will be dropped into your project fund. And you don't have to do 3 years. We were using 3 years as an example because we find that that's kind of an easier way to roll, right, with your plans. If you wanted to do 4, you can do 4. You can't do more than 5. We'd like you to stay and actually do 20 years, to be honest. That seems a bit aggressive because you just kind of lose sight of what you're trying to kind of spend your money on. The other thing that I would like you guys to think about too is, I saw in your budget order that you guys have a park, like a levy for your parks, that you guys clearly have parks, I'm guessing.
yes,
And you could set up a separate park district as well. So that's a separate taxing district, which is another lever. Now, you don't have to, that debt capacity or kind of borrowing capacity is coterminous with the town. Just like a stormwater district is. So that's another lever that you can pull if SEA one, or you see down the road where you're wanting to do some improvements to your parks that are a little more substantial in nature, like splash pads or whatever. That's kind of the hot, cool, hot topic around parks, but.
Even park swings and stuff, they're
Yeah.
so expensive.
So that's another lever. You don't have to do that now, but my goal is to help towns figure out what things they can put in their toolbox. So that they can kind of offset SB one.
And this is one.
That's one.
And just to answer your question about when can you get the money? Some of the towns that we're working with, we'll be closing before December 31st.
Yeah, we have to close by 12/31 on the GO bonds, the general obligation bonds, in order for them. So what happens is, if we close this year by 12/31, we would send it to the DLGF, they'll certify that levy. And it will be whatever the exact amount you would need to pay your debt service on those bonds. So that you would put something in your budget that would kind of be a little not to exceed levy, but then we'll re-true it up by the time we issue the debt. But if you don't do it, you just lose it.
Right.
This isn't you're not getting bonus points for not doing it, but you're not harmed in not doing it. You know what I mean? Like, it's an opportunity. And if the town said, we don't really have any big projects, or we don't have anything that capital in nature, we're good, we're funding everything kind of as we go, then it would make sense.
So what I wanted Sean to come is, actually, it can be used for a lot of our capital expenditures where we don't have to take it out of the budget. So as you can see, this would probably cost the residents less money than raising utilities. They come up with
This is a
capital.
pilot, that's another lever you can pull.
Yes, you're gonna talk about the pilot, or did you leave the pilot in left field?
It's up to you, it's up to you.
We still don't have to raise rates, we're still high enough.
That's another revenues. Revenues on this side of the ledger.
I don't know, but you see what I'm saying? I mean, we talk about raising utilities where it costs so let's say you do just a percentage over all three utilities, and it might cost the citizens. Just take a range, $5 to $10 more a month for those utilities. Okay. Versus some of your citizens on this won't even be affected. And the other ones will maybe not even be affected the full amount before they hit the cap. But it would, so if you take $24, which is an
I'm just gonna
average.
give an example, but
Yeah.
that's probably about average.
Okay, so that's $2 a month. Okay, what can you do in your utilities where you're just gonna affect the citizens of Hagerstown for $2 or less a month? So we're not forced to do anything. And what's nice, it doesn't put a lot of burden on Julie or John, because once we get it done, the county handles it. So it doesn't cause any internal extra work on our part. And whether you choose 3 years or 4 years, I would not even recommend 5, but if you choose that time period, you're done. Then you can decide, do you want to re-up?
Or you could just let it mature. I mean, after 3 years, if you guys as a town
And it's paid
decide,
for.
I don't know if we want to do that again,
It's
then it
paid
just
for.
matures.
Paid for.
It's
So
not,
Donnie can't talk, but, so this is a bond though, correct?
It's a
Yes.
general obligation bonds through tax revenue.
And then you said, what does it cost the town and who is the administrator of the bond?
it's free. No, it's not free. I'm kidding. It's not free. He said it. I had to say that. He said it like each night, I had to say it was free, and I didn't tell me it was free. So yeah, there are costs of issuance, and that's where he's involved and I'm involved. So we would be the ones that would be running the deal for you with your local attorney. And generally, I'd say the cost of issuance run all in about 50,000, 40,000. So you're gonna get a net number of let's say on your number of 400, you would get 350 in your account. And that would be for a bank council, what I would suggest, because you're doing a smaller amount in a shorter term, is you solicit your depository bank. You solicit all the local banks around here, which I did see some on my way in, and they would want it. Cause it's short term. It's a 3-year deal. It's backed by property taxes, which is the best security you can issue in the state of Indiana right now. And then just solicit your banks.
So I put a term sheet together, I get it to you, and we'd say, send it out to these people. And-
Yeah.
And we'll wait to hear back from them. And Brian, just when you and I were talking, you had made a comment about maybe a road project at a train intersection, you were thinking maybe. I don't know if that rings a bell.
Well, it depends whether I negotiate or he negotiates. I say it's their track. They say it's my track. It's my track. We have no issue because we're taking out the rails. But for some reason that upsets them, even though it's not their track.
The railroad attorney wasn't very happy that day.
You can do street improvements, and again, what I really, really want you guys to think about is, like you were saying, when you're talking about water and sewer, those revenues are, those levers are there for utility projects. But if you're tearing up the road, or you're doing other things in a water project or a sewer project, this is a way you can kind of move those around, right? Because I want you to start, again, having tools in your toolbox to fund these capital projects that you already have. But it's just a way to put them in an avenue that the statute allows you to do so. It gives you options. Doesn't mean you have to do it, but it gives you options. So I would like for you to start funding parks out of a park district, because all of a sudden you can kind of keep them separate. And so those are just, again, big picture things, but this is more needed.
And we don't have to take on the whole 400,000.
I don't understand how we pay it back.
You don't pay it back.
Well,
Our taxes pay it back.
yes, but
So you get a tax bill every year and it says, I'll just use an example, you have $100 go to the library.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you've not maxed out, not capped out, you'll have a line on here that says I'm just gonna use an example, $24 for general obligation bond repay.
it would be on your actual bill.
On your, you
I'm
know,
just thinking about when town gets our tax money coming out of that.
this don't.
The county auditor collects all the property taxes.
Right.
And then they get you
Right.
your, just, so
Right.
that
That's not gonna change.
will not change.
That's not-
You will not be sending out property tax bills.
Well,
No,
I just was wondering,
it goes
still
on the
getting
bill.
our, what we get.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
It would be a separate line item on the
Yeah,
tax.
at the very bottom, you know where at the bottom where it will say like
Yeah.
storm in Indianapolis, where I live, I mean, there's 50 things at the bottom of my tax bill, but yeah, it'll just say a separate rate or a separate fee. Yeah.
So if you don't get enough money from property taxes, how does it get paid off?
It gets paid off from all the taxing units.
From all the taxes.
So your best case scenario
Won't be sure. It's a
Dylan,
separate levy.
is if we had everybody capped out.
Yeah.
It wouldn't cost our citizens anything.
Well, someone's got to pay for it. So
It's coming out for, somebody else is paying for
Well, industrial, commercial.
So
it. You're
the
a
other taxing districts are
Yes.
suffering.
Yes.
And that's where,
Assuming they're not at their,
so if the county does the same thing
Yes.
and the township and the schools and everybody, then it's kind of back to a wash, right? I mean, because you have a maximum levy that everybody can take. And essentially what you're doing is you're taking a piece before everybody else does.
yes,
And then if your citizens don't generate enough revenue within the town, then you're gonna grab from the other taxing districts. Your town's resident won't pay more in total. But those other taxing districts will suffer. They're gonna get less because you have to pay the debt.
And then Donnie also asked, how is the fee determined and is the fee negotiable or is it set?
it's not free, but the fee is, it's usually set. We usually just have a line item for cost of issuance, but we can give you a detailed breakdown of who's what. But yes, it is somewhat negotiable.
it. Sean always gives us a 20% discount.
Yeah, fine, I can do that. That's fair. But yes, it is negotiable.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Good question. Good question. But yeah, because we'll have to do some approvals. We'll have closing documents. We'll have a couple of approval documents that we would have to come before the council. And then we would actually sell the bonds, or Sean would be selling the bonds and I would be documenting it.
Can those funds be used as matching funds for like NDOT grants,
Yeah.
Oprah grants, or that kind of thing, so?
Yeah. Yes.
And we don't need to have an existing capital improvement plan to.
Nope, but I would like you to start one.
Yeah.
Because this could be a nice start for you to start. And again, it could be the back of a sheet. Like I really literally would want you just to start listing, sidewalk improvements, 26, street light, matching funds, a police vehicle, fire equipment, radios, IT things, whatever. But I want you to like kind of give us something that would be a kitchen sink approach. And you have to have a reasonable expectation that you're gonna spend the money. I don't want you to like say you're gonna build, water park in your name or something, but you have to reasonably expect to spend the money. But we can craft it in a way that gives you lots of flexibility.
Bill and I won't approve if you want town council personal cars.
No, that would be private use, so like, this is all governmental service purpose bonds, no direct sewer line to Walmart, okay, can't do that, so let's just kind of keep it into a public use. Public project.
Or did you have a comment or question earlier?
The only thing I was gonna ask was, and just, you guys, if you have customers that you've had for years, especially anybody that, town this size, that they could talk to and find out, what do they think of it? The good, the bad, obviously more than one, as a manager, big plant, that's what I do. When somebody comes in, if it sounds good, that's fantastic, but sometimes it sounds better than what it is. And, I'm not saying it's not a good deal.
Oh, yeah, these questions are all very legitimate, because sometimes I feel when we do these presentations, people are like, well, why isn't everyone doing it? Why is this, well, they are, to be honest. It's just, I find that some communities don't have a plan, and I have a city of Montpelier, for example, we've done their rolling geos for the last 10 years. And they do a 3-year rolling geo every 3 years. It just happens. And we back in and we do a new plan, we do a new ordinance, and that's just how it's become part of their capital planning.
And police cars are a big part of it.
Police cars are a big part of it.
And their chief was one of my academy classmates, Chris Snyder.
Yeah.
Well,
So, but
you
if you
call-
roll those, I know they're not good forever, and then you sell them. And so again, those are just things to kind of think about I like a 3-year block. I'm not telling you that you have to do it that way, but it seems very manageable.
I like the 3 actually.
It's a little longer than 1, it's a little, 2 is a little tight because you're not sure, 3 years gives you a little room, so. And again, I would want it to be things for what I have found the most successful politically is you have to tie it to projects that mean things to people. Or kind of responsive in nature and things that your citizens are wanting. Kind of like your pagers, that's a good example.
So for the current, budget cycle, 12/31,
Yeah, we
This
would
year is
really
the
need
last.
you to put this debt service rate into your budget by 11/1. That's your critical, the rest, we can issue the bonds by 12, we need to close by 12/31. But we really would need, if you're interested in doing it so that you can issue the bonds this year and get the levy, because you see, we have to get the levy in for this year so they can start collecting in 26. And if you miss that window, it just means you're a year behind.
The day's October 6th, it gives us 25 days to make a decision.
Well, less than that, because you'd have to notice your public hearing again.
Yeah.
So you really have to make a decision in the next few days. Or by next week, because you're gonna need 10 days. Who does your budget? Who does your budget work? Who does you do it?
Yeah.
Oh, that is so impressive. You love it. Well, then, yes, you would have to work, don't tell, but we would have to re-advertise the budget so that you could put that separate levy in there. And Sean could give you what that levy needed to be. It's just a max.
And I would just need to know
Sorry,
from the
Nick.
council, 1, if you approve it, and 2, at what value do you approve it? Like, is it 400,000 that you want to go after? You could go up, I don't know, if it's 412 or something, but you can go down to 300, that's the range.
Yeah, you just can't, I wouldn't wouldn't suggest anything less than a 250 or 300,000, because then your cost of issuance are eating up the benefit of you doing it, really, to be
I'm
honest.
assuming your fee doesn't go down as the
Well, like
dollar.
you said, I had to do 20%. Oh,
I
You said there was no charge for
but
it.
you don't know my fee, so I'm just gonna bump it up 20 and then take 20 off.
But I'm assuming the number you quoted is probably a pretty firm number, whether we do 200,000 or 400,000.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, because it's the same approvals. I do, people are like, but it's only, I'm like, well, you still have to do the same steps, but we can work with you if it's something that you're definitely interested in doing. For sure. For sure, for sure. And I'm not doing it pro bono, which is what he told me I had to do, so. But yeah, I think the critical thing is whether it's something you're at all interested in, whether you want to take advantage of it for this year. And if you don't, it's okay. You're not losing the race. I just wanted you to be in the race. I want you to know this is happening. I want you to know that people are doing this. This is definitely an option you have in a town that's run very well. And it's something that you can kind of build upon long term. But it's your choice. But the critical date is we would have to get the budget redone and submitted in Gateway by 11/1. That is a critical date.
And even if you put it in Gateway,
You don't have to use it.
you don't have to use it.
Yeah, so if you decide to put the levy in, you did the debt service rate levy, and you put it in at 24 cents, and you end up deciding not to issue the bonds this year, they won't, they certify it. We would have to send them the documents after we issue the bonds that say, hey, look, we actually did issue these bonds. We need that levy in place to pay these bonds back. And if you decide not to do it, you just wouldn't have that levy. They wouldn't collect it.
So if you're somewhat interested, I would encourage you to at least put that in place while you review some of the literature we gave you and thinking about it.
So then they would need to put that in the budget, and then they would need to advertise the budget,
Re-advertise.
re-advertise the budget this month.
Yeah.
Any other steps they would have to do to be eligible to do it?
No ordinance yet. It's for the budget part, that was the steps you would have to do. Basically, kind of going back and, I know, don't yell at me, to go back and redoing that notice and then the public hearing and then the adoption. Yeah. If you want to add it for this year. And then after that, we have time. You can breathe, because we just would then have to issue the bonds if you wanted to and close by 12/31 or 12/15 or.
So then we'd have to have a special hearing for public comments on that, because our next meeting will be after the 1st of November.
Yeah, we'd have to have additional meetings.
So what's this look like if they decided they wanted to do it next year?
Then you would want to wait, we wouldn't issue those bonds until, late in 26.
Okay, they can't. This is not something they can do in the spring or summer because of the budget issue.
Because it's property tax backed, right, and paid, so property taxes are paid in arrears. And then going forward, we need that levy in place to collect. So, yeah, it would be a year before you could.
And I agree with what they're saying is probably, I can't speculate, but I would think that one of the local banks
Oh, I would be surprised if they did.
will gobble it up.
Start with your depository bank too, that's where I would start.
Because they're guaranteed
Payment.
their payment.
Yes.
And so if it gets issued at 4, they're guaranteed their payment and they're guaranteed 4% on their money.
And we would put a no-call provision in there because it's such a short terms, which means they couldn't redeem it early because they want to be guaranteed that short return. And that will.
And you know, that looks like a lot of money to us, but to any of our banks around here, that's just a drop in the bucket. So I agree with her. I'd be shocked if somebody local, not just.
And it will be bank qualified, by the way. I'm assuming the town hasn't issued $10 million this year in any bonds.
No.
Okay, well, good assumption. So it would be bank qualified, which means the bank could actually take another deduction. So you guys could not have issued 10 million in count per year.
I just don't understand it all, but.
You don't need to.
But when when I understood it, it's when I started reading my property tax bill, which I don't ever read, but I do read it now. And it's on the bottom. You'll see what those.
Well, the bank pays mine.
Yeah, see.
Oh, I know what's on it.
But tying it to capital projects, tying it to, kind of a continuum of things that you guys wanna do, you know, like roads, streets, sidewalks, you know, vehicles, equipment, whatever those things are. Never really walked into a community where they didn't have projects, but maybe you will be the first. But usually if you tie it to that, it makes a lot more sense. And again, you would get the funding at full funds at close. You can invest those as you're permitted for code or statute. Yeah. It wouldn't be a draw bond, it'd be a fully funded.
Anything else? All right. Well, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further public comment? Seeing none, we move on to council action. We have ordinance number 14/2025, which is the budget for 2026. I guess this ties in with our discussion we just had.
Right. Just, last council meeting, we introduced it,
Yes.
and now we need to adopt.
And we can still go ahead and adopt it because it would have to just be,
Like an additional appropriation.
yeah, so it's not like it stops this at all. And maybe it's too quick for us to go
Well,
about
I
it.
mean, yeah,
I know, we gotta do this. So I'm gonna make a motion that we accept ordinance 1425, budget for 2026 as presented by Clerk Frazier.
So properly moved and seconded, we approve ordinance number 14/2025, the budget for 2026 as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Then we have wage and salary ordinance number 15/2025.
yes, so we had 2 employees, pass and get their CDL, so that gives them $1 more. And that's fun. One was 1 week, one was the next week.
You seen that, Brian?
Yeah. Make a motion that we accept the wage and salary ordinance 15/2025 with the increase of pay to the 2 employees who received their CDLs.
So properly moved and seconded, we approve wage and salary ordinance number 15/2025, effective 9/3/2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Next up on your agenda, you'll see the contract between the fire department and trustee, Almer Township. John, I can't remember if I had CC'd you in the information that was given to us. If not, I'll follow up tomorrow with you on that so that we can.
Yeah, I don't remember, I saw the fire on the agenda and I was thinking it was the pagers and all that stuff, but I don't remember reviewing this contract.
I'll have the information to you tomorrow, so. Yeah. And then town website.
I think we just need to, we talked about having a committee, if you will. I would say that with the online requirements that we now have with our minutes and the live coverage, I would see what council's pleasure is on just moving forward with the free town website. Basically taking the information we have our current website, copy and paste it on this new one. And I think their turnaround time is about a month or 2.
That was through the state.
Yeah, and it's free of charge.
I'm gonna make a suggestion that we take Dylan, who's forgotten more about that than I know. Dylan, and of course, Julie needs to be involved in that. And then Julie, the employee that has an interest in working with that once we get Jamie. Jamie has a real interest. If you look at the, our boards, our signs coming in and how well those, Jamie does all that and does a fantastic job. And she has an interest in doing this too. And we know that if we don't have somebody internal that has an interest in doing that and keep it up to date, it's gonna fail just like it has in the past sometimes. So I think Jamie is key. And I trust Dylan. He's already done the legwork. I just think those three work together and Dylan's schedule and so that this thing just doesn't drag on. So we can just maybe by the first of the year, have it in place and Dylan will be comfortable and Julie will have an overall understanding and Jamie will just know what she needs to do and how to go about that to keep it up. And I think I would add no benefit to that committee at all. So that would be my recommendation.
I would agree. So I'll put it in your hands, sir, and we'll have it by the first, so report.
I'll give you guys updates as we go. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, Don, what do you have for us?
So let's see, 450 North Plum is still on the agenda. I know Mr. Cannon had the opportunity to get in and updated all you guys. There is progress being made on the inside. It sounds like primarily have been some changes on the outside, so there is some movement there. And then met with Chris and Julie on Friday. The Norfolk Southern situation, I'm not sure what leverage we're gonna have, but I don't know if you ever heard anything from anybody.
No.
Yeah, Chris sending, was it Friday you sent the email to him? And he gets pinged back and forth between local and corporate, if you will, and not really getting any answers. So we're gonna see what legal leverage we have. I will tell you, the railroads enjoy quite a privileged position legally. They can pretty much do what they want, but we'll see what options we have. And then also talked to Chris about water meters, some folks that have interior meters and it's either difficult to get them to let us in or what have you. So we're gonna send a demand letter to them that either we get in or we're gonna put an outdoor meter in and or a bit and charge you for it. I think those are the primary updates I have for this month. Oh, the ordinance, I'm sorry. I sent all you an ordinance just this afternoon about potentially making some changes. It started out somewhat, delineating trailers, and then after the discussion from last month, it just really just stripped down to vehicles. So any vehicle, and the way I drafted it, and I don't know if I captured the chief's or council's intent, and we can talk about that, but is that if there's a vehicle that sits there, whether it's a trailer, car, or whatever, for 72 hours and is not moved, then the police department has some discretion, but then that's subject to fine and penalties. So, I think there was an emphasis maybe on construction trailers and things like that. If you've got the lady that, lives alone and doesn't get out much and, goes to the grocery once a week and gets her hair done and all that stuff. Well, her car might sit there for 72 hours. I don't know. And so I try to give the police department a little discretion in that scenario. So Chief, if you want to add anything or what your concerns are.
Our biggest issue with that is not really vehicles, the old lady that doesn't go anywhere. Ours is pretty much with the trailer, and the problem with the 72-hour thing is what will end up happening is we have several semi-truck drivers in town that used to always park their semis and trailer at their house when they were home. So the problem with 72 hours is they're on the road during the week, they come home Friday, they can park it there all the weekend. So now we have trucks and semis and trailers on the roadway. Kind of the same with the campers. They sit there 3 or 4 days during the week now. Then on the weekends, they go camping, then they're back during the week. So the 72-hour thing doesn't really do a whole lot for us. My belief is if the true goal is to keep people from just parking trailers, campers, semis, etc. on the road in front of their house, is we do what we thought. I think some people thought the initial ordinance was gonna be no trailers of any type can be parked on the roadways unattended, except for loading and unloading. And then that solves the problem. If we throw all these different things in and put discretion on the police department, et cetera, that makes it difficult for us because it's, well, you know, you don't want to force it against Joe because Joe's your buddy, but you enforce it against Bob and so on. I would prefer it to either be black and white, either they can park them there or they can't.
You're just talking about semis and trailers there.
Correct, yeah, vehicles really aren't an issue because with the vehicles, normally we go off the state IC on that, which is the 72 hours, they have to be moved, et cetera. So our biggest issue with that ordinance is just prohibiting people from parking their trailers on the road. Because if you guys think back 4 years ago, whatever, before we first started this, it was nothing to drive around town and there'd be 10 campers parked on the road all winter long, 4 or 5 semis and trailers. And I mean, it was all through town until we started this, which worked well for several years until we just had a discrepancy that came up about the size of the trailer a few months ago. But before that, the belief was there's no trailers were to be parked in town, and that was working well. So I feel like we just needed to clean up the ordinance that just said no trailers of any type, regardless of size, can be parked on the roadway. There's issues every day where we have a construction company that is at a house for a day or two doing a job, or, you know, the person that pulls their camper in front of their house for a day while they're cleaning it out before they go put it in storage, et cetera. That's not issues that we ever enforce or get involved in anyways. It's the people that park it there. They park it there as the parking spot, just like they do their vehicles. And if we go away from how we've been enforcing that, it's my opinion that a year from now, we'll be back to campers and trailers parked all over town again and semis, et cetera.
If I can add to that, Keith, I know originally there was some language in that ordinance about the maximum width. Yesterday evening, I went out and drove around town. I went up and drove by 450 North Plum Street, and I sent you guys an email on that. I went down on the south side, and there was a semi-tractor trailer parked on Factory Street right next to Tedco. And then there was also auto car chassis parked along the south side of Factory Street, all the way from Pearl out to Washington, which was making a bottleneck in the street for traffic. So, you know, I like the idea of some sort of specifications for maximum width.
The only problem we ran into with the width, is it does allow the smaller utility
Right.
trailers inside of that, and that's also a problem.
Could there be
You know,
specific language for like semis?
there already is. Semis, and a lot of that is already prohibited by the current one.
Yeah,
But the problem is some of the verbiage in the current, one specified under trailers a certain length and width, which based on those dimensions allows all the smaller stuff
that's what
in.
caused the issue
Yeah.
with the citations issue. Yeah, I understand that.
So John, with what Keith is saying, are we able to get the verbiage do you see any issues with getting the verbiage to match what he's saying instead of, you know, having that discretionary kind of movement in there? Is there a way to?
Well, I don't think so. So any trailer, regardless of size, can only be on the street if it's, or can't be unattended.
and for the purpose of loading and unloading was originally kind of what I think the intent was, and what I know myself, believe that the current ordinance was saying.
We had 3 different definitions of trailers in that too.
Correct.
So
Mhm.
why do we have 3 different definitions if it should all be treated the same? That's-
Well,
that was my story when I looked.
yeah, I agree. That's why I like the no trailers of any size or type.
Okay, so no trailers, so I made it too broad, I included vehicles. So we're not worried about cars, trucks.
We're all worried about big trucks stuff.
Yeah, semis, but I believe semis is in that ordinance, correct?
Well, yes, I don't think it uses the term semi, but yes, large trailer, I forget what it says.
Tractor,
Yeah,
I think
so-
it says tractor and trailer.
Yeah, and Donnie sent me a text too, and I think he pointed this out the last meeting as well, was that by state definition, trailer is a vehicle by Indiana code.
Right, and in the new version, I took my definition of vehicle includes trailer.
Mhm.
But it also includes car, truck and all that, which now we're saying we really don't necessarily want or need to include. So I need to.
Which my biggest issue is not so much the vehicle things in there was the 72 hours, because that's very easy to get around.
Well, that's why you have somebody go out there with.
For the
3 feet
person
and
that
say, I
wants to
moved
park
it.
it, yeah. You know, that was my only biggest issue with that, was the 72 hours. And also the general public, it's confusing to them. They don't always, we know that a trailer is considered a vehicle, but the average person doesn't think that. That's why I thought simplifying that makes it clear to the average person that pulls up the ordinance and they.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
And I could also see where that 72 hours could get to be confusing when it comes to actually having a motorized conveyance. When this, get a complaint on it, state law says it has to be red tagged for 72 hours before it can be moved, before it can be removed. And I can see where that could maybe cause an issue of, you know, why didn't you red tag it, or how come my car got a sticker on it and their trailer didn't? So that, I can see where that could cause some confusion as well.
Yeah, you know, again, our biggest issue is trailers, campers, motorhomes, semis and trailers is the biggest one, but I was just looking for a way to simplify everything and also make it more understandable to the average citizens to look up our ordinance.
So the 72 hours was in the prior ordinance, and that's where I kind of grabbed that from, but it sounds like we want to ditch that. Just say, no trailer can be parked other than for loading and unloading and must be attended or cannot be unattended. Is that,
That would be my recommendation.
so you guys are okay with it? I'll put together another version and try to send it to you a little quicker this time so you can have a chance to look at it, and hopefully maybe we can have a final form for November.
Yeah, I'll take your recommendation. And then I do have a quick question. So Donnie wanted some clarification, and so did I. So I know we're going backwards on Elm. It's not done. All we're seeing is just movement, right?
One, on sale.
Oh.
He put Elm, but I think it's Plum.
Yeah,
I just-
150 North Plum. Yeah, it's not done, at least according to my end. Tom's been in it, so you can add whatever, but I don't think it's done, but there's progress.
It's not finished. I was actually in it today, as a matter of fact.
So Tom let you go in there?
Kyle,
Or Kyle.
Contractors, electricians were in there today and I know them, they're fine. And
Yeah.
Kyle had said anytime we want to go in there, he could arrange it, so. Being that the contractors are working under a permit gives me the authority to show up whenever they're there, reasonable times.
Makes sense.
And so I went in and looked around. They're trying, they're working on it. That's really all I can say. They haven't replaced windows yet. They started by taking some of the lower window sills out, which will be the beginning piece of replacing the windows. I think they were checking to see what the condition of the sill was and the supporting framing in the wall to be sure that those things
were suitable to take windows out, put new windows in. They've been making progress. They repaired the floor that had rotted in the bathtub area. They've got that scabbed back in together with supporting joists. So they're doing work.
So what you're seeing is enough where you don't believe that we need to continue to move forward or at least pause on the demolition order?
So, that's ultimately the council's decision to make. I still stand on what I stated the last time I had a conversation, is that our only solid violation of ordinance is the fact that it's unoccupied.
And we need to change that. Because just because of structure is not occupied does not make it unsafe.
It's true.
So that language needs to be amended somehow.
And I'm wondering if maybe that was put in there to just maybe add to, like overcomplicate an issue, well, you've got this violation, and this one.
Right.
So I'm wondering if maybe that was.
The way it was added, though, it is a separate ordinance number under all these other descriptions. It gives it a title number, 151, whatever, the designation is. And that's the only thing that's attached to that reference. Aside from that, I have no solid reason to declare it unsafe by what our ordinance descriptions say.
And that was my next question, is if the movement that they've made now, do you feel that it is a safe structure?
Aside from, if you wanted to look at the fourth floor, the rotted floor in the bathroom area, that would have been unsafe. If a firefighter went in there with no lighting to investigate or look for someone reported down in there, and they could have fallen through the floor, that's repaired.
And then since you're here, West Clay Street, do you have an update on that?
On what?
West Clay Street,
West Clay Street.
that was the,
So
like the
the
abandoned truck and
150 and
in
the
the back.
two residents to the west of that. The overgrowth along the alleyway has been remediated, I believe. The one vehicle that was in place of the on 150 lot has been removed. There's still a significant amount of yard articles around the garage to the back of the house. They've made some effort, but I think it's going to take an official letter to spur them on to completion. Okay. I did actually speak with all of those residents in person.
Awesome.
When I went to address it.
And then Donnie had fielded a direct complaint about a refrigerator in the backyard at 197, 199 West Main. I drove by there last night and it's gone. It's been.
Yeah, we spoke to the owners the day that complaint came out and they removed it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's what I'm here for.
What is the current order then for forfeiture of Platinum? What was the?
So the order, the recorded order is a $5,000 civil penalty. So he was found, and we started way back almost a year ago with an initial demolition order. And then he came in, I want to say in the November meeting, and we converted it to a rehabilitation order. He was supposed to come in February and did not. He had agreed in the November meeting that he would have everything done by May 31st. That didn't happen. And so then we got him back in, or not in, but initiated conversation, and then we set a hearing for a review, which he did not attend, and then that allowed us to do the $5,000 civil penalty. We wanted to do a demolition order, but we, by statute, cannot do a demolition order without giving him notice again. Hey, we're gonna tear your property down. We can only enforce the civil penalty, and then that's when we're back to Tom now being able to get in. There's a little progress, certainly not as quick or as thorough as we'd all like, but I think Tom's position is it's not eligible to reissue a demolition order based on what's happening. So we have a $5,000 civil penalty, which is sitting there, and would, if he gets it sold, we would get paid that.
It's a lien against the bill.
Yes, it's a recorded.
And I know there was some discussion about, he had made a request that we vacate that. I'm not in favor. That's Steve's state.
Right, and that was, casual and email, I think maybe to Tom, but yeah, he would have to do something to make that happen. I've got to ask you all. I understand your position, put it that way.
Any further points? Thank you, sir. Liaison reports, Parks and Recreation.
No meeting, next meeting is next month.
Police Department, Keith.
Few things, we had a normal month, probably call wise, we had 216 calls through dispatch center. Generally, we'll have about another 20 calls that don't make it there, so there's probably around 240 or so calls, which has lately been pretty much an average month for us. I wanted to make you aware of a couple road closures that's going on, this weekend for Fall Festival. They're having the car show that they do every year at the elementary, so, they're gonna be closing down Sycamore between College and, Harrison. And then they're gonna use the section of North Market between Sycamore and Elm Street as a backup. If they have so much they have to flow over, they're gonna close that. Usually they were instructed, they may contact all the residents around there and let them know that that was taking place this weekend. I spoke with, street department, they're gonna put up barricades and stuff on Friday at the intersections. And then the event coordinators will set them up Saturday morning, for the car show. And then the other closure was asked for from Gary, downtown. They're gonna close, Plum Street from Main to Walnut, but it's gonna just go to the alleyway there to the south. So that won't affect anything with EMS being able to get in and out, but just that small section there, that's gonna be, from 8 AM to 4 PM on Saturday, and that's gonna be similar time frame for, the car show. The other thing, the town of Sheridan and Hamilton County, they donated, some, X-26 tasers to our department, which is what we carry. They updated, to newer versions. That gives us a few extra spares if we have issues, but more importantly, they donated a lot of cartridges and batteries to us, which are nice because we are very close to the ones that we carry. You can know they've been phased out by Axon, so we're not gonna be able to purchase new batteries, cartridges, etc. But they gave us a substantial amount of both of those, which will carry us on for probably a few more years without us having to look at moving to the newer version. The last thing that I had is trick or treating will be on Friday, October 31st from 6 to 8 PM. Generally, I believe the fire department has their thing from 5 to 6, and then we begin our trick or treating hours in town is 6 PM when that ends, and it'll go to 8 PM. So that's all I have.
Any questions, comments? Fire Department, Rick.
We are still averaging anywhere 20-25 runs a month. Last month we had, and on the full average. October this year, this month, we have fire prevention month for the week. We had guys at our elementary school last week doing fire prevention like we normally do. And we have a crew at the New Testament Church on the 16th this month down there, down there. As he said, trick or treat night, we always have a station open while trick or treat's going on in case somebody needs something. American Legion, as far as I know, are still having their Halloween contest there at the station beginning at 5 o'clock. Unless it's changed, they've not told me anything different. So then immediately following that, we give out our glow necklaces that we've been doing that for years. Again, the necklaces that we give away are all donated money to the taxpayers are paying for that. So, but you get away from 400 to 500 a year. So we have always a good night up there. Good crew comes up, good crowd comes up. Reed's always up there with us last few years giving out stuff too. So, and PD, those guys stop by, let the kids look at the cars and stuff. So that's a good thing for the community. Station, the approaches have been done. We're gonna move the trucks in, probably the rest of the trucks in by this coming weekend. And then it's ready to go. I'll give Julie, on the break up the payment for all of our money's coming, funds, our money's coming from, to pay for that. So. And our apparatus, we do have 6.4. We go in the shop here shortly. The rear springs on it, we're gonna beat those up a little bit. They're pretty well much maxed out with the load it's got on the back of that truck. So, we're gonna put some more heavy duty springs underneath that truck. Keep it going. And still 2 members down, so if anybody wants to be a member of the department, EMR, you know, or you gotta take the classes, you gotta get certified. People that want to do it, but when it comes to taking a class and you get certified, they kind of want to back out, so. That's a requirement, it's required by the state of Indiana. But, if you're interested, you know, contact me. Applications you fill out. Go from there.
Thanks, sir. Airport board.
The easiest one, Keith. Finally heard back from the FAA. We should have it in 60 days.
Hey,
So,
progress,
Yeah.
thank you, I appreciate that.
It's slower than me. Last month of flying, it was a great success. Had about 100 airplanes over there. And we brought a lot of people to that's good to see. Biggest thing is the 4-H arena. I sent an email to Alan last month. Sorry, I didn't send it to everybody, but I didn't have Chris Dillon's email. So I sent it to Alan to spread through everybody. The arena is in terrible condition. I sent pictures to Alan. I don't share the it's basically falling down. So we decided to address that. I penned an email that I sent to John to proofread. While he was doing that, we actually got a letter from 4-H saying that they no longer want to continue with the lease. Because I guess they'll upkeep it. There's a whole bunch of things going on with 4-H. So I think we have to wait 60 days before we actually do anything with it. Is that right?
Well, that was a 60-day notice.
Yeah. So somewhere around December, we'll find out just pulling out the arena because it's falling down. It's not in a state of condition at all. Along with safety, it was brought to our attention that somebody wanted to ask a question about leasing the woods for hunting. Came up with a liability issue. I kind of thought, you know, it's not a good idea, but it was brought to my attention that town employees are allowed to hunt in those woods. So I brought it to our insurance company and asked them their thoughts on liability issues, if it's done or not. They bumped it up to the next level, and I forwarded that email to John. Their basic opinion is they would prefer if we didn't. It's a liability on the airport's insurance, not necessarily the town's, is the way I read it. Even though their town employees, it didn't matter. And if anything happened, it would affect our future insurability. So.
I've said here, I'll make an input there. I've sat on here a long time. We discussed whether it's 14, 16, or however many years. I've never heard that our employees have the right to hunt on the airport. It was never brought to town council while I've been on town council. So that's really goes back,
Okay.
dated a long time. So I would be worried about insurance there as well.
That was my main concern.
I will say that it has been since I've been here, because a couple of officers from the police department has hunted there. And at that time, Adam was our town attorney. We didn't have an airport board, and his opinion then was it wasn't an issue because we were on the town insurance. So that's where that came from. And if the airport is gonna terminate that, then that's fine. I'll make sure that, you know, that's made aware. I think there's only a couple that's been doing it over the last few years anyway.
So it was recommendation from the insurance company that it was probably not a good idea.
Yeah. That's at least whatever it is, that we. Yeah, I mean, it's the insurance company, so anything risky, they're gonna suggest you don't do it, yeah. General deal.
So if y'all have any input on that, we'll hear.
Is anyone still hunting out there?
Yeah, there's a tree stand set out there. So.
Yeah, they've been there for 13 years.
How many acres are there? Nothing.
That I don't know.
I'm not asking for myself. but-
There's a very small section that's both areas is down on the south part of the runway. Probably the last 75 to 100 yards of the runway on the south end on the east and west side.
And maybe this would be unpopular, I don't know, but I mean, if they are town employees, would we be able to have some sort of contract, if you will, that say, hey, if you fall and get hurt, shoot yourself in the leg, you Dick Cheney it?
What if they shoot an airplane? Yeah, there's, or.
And I guess you got the woods surrounding it too, that could happen, right?
It's highly unlikely because we have enough of the woods that they would probably stop any rounds coming.
I also don't know where they're hunting at, so.
Yeah.
I can't really speak for that.
Yeah, there's enough woods there that would probably stop around.
I mean, you could get the town employee to sign a waiver, or, you know, if you give permission, you can get that person to sign a waiver, but then what if they take their buddy's not signed a waiver? What if they have an accident and hurt somebody that's passing by or something? I mean, I know.
I'll just put it out to my guys, because police department's the only town employees that have been hunting down there for the last 13 years. You know, I've hunted down there myself for probably 10 years. We're smart enough, we don't shoot airplanes, et cetera, but if that's the council's desire and everything, then I'll just put that out. But that's the only town employees, has been police department members. There's been 3 of us. Chris was one of them that hunted down there for 10 years. Eric Miller, and basically myself is pretty much the only 3 that's ever been there. And we don't take buddies. I think Eric's taken his wife once or twice.
Going back 25 years ago, the deer herd down there was, you know, in the summertime, it would not be unusual to see 40 or 50 deer standing on the runway at sunset. That's an issue for the safety of the aircraft. So, you know, we were kind of trying to do our part to thin the herd down there. And probably in the last 13 years, there's probably been what, maybe 10 deer killed off the airport too.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so, you know, I didn't put a big dent in it, but the deer population is just declining on its own.
Well, I mean, that's, you guys don't think it's saying that nobody can hunt there, it's just the insurance company obviously would prefer you don't, so you could. You know, some of the state parks have certain hunts where they close down and have targeted times to thin the herd a little bit, you can do something like that.
Actually, this year they canceled all.
So did it?
Okay, I love it, huh? Safe work.
So, but you could do something like that where you have a set time and, you know.
Really, it's just about eliminating himself. Eric's not a part of the police department.
Right.
Chris, I don't believe you're a part of the police department, so basically it's just down to Keith.
Yeah, for the most part.
Well, I thought that was the 3 there, what?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, I know Eric still hunted there since he's retired, but he was on the other end, so I don't know now, so. But
I think
like
that's
that,
about ending, right? Coming to a close, right, Chris? Eventually.
he's already retired. I'm sure he probably planned.
He's retired.
He's
right?
retired, yeah.
So he's not, so you're not a town,
I haven't hunted down there in 3 years.
so I guess we're just pretty well eliminated the situation anyhow.
Any further?
I have a question about the 4-H arena. You said you're gonna tear the rink down. Does that include the building?
No, we're gonna use the building for.
Okay, so my other question was, were you planning on doing that section of airport down there.
We haven't decided yet. We really don't know what to use it for.
Cause the rink could be private seated or sodded and use that for extra parking for.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's all sand and weeds right now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, sir. Advisory Plan Commission,
No meeting.
town manager report then.
All right, yeah, our wastewater treatment plant, we got IDEM came in and performed a random routine inspection of the plant and, pretty much went through everything. They have been down there for 2 or 3 years. I think this is the first time they've been there since Crystal's done wastewater treatment plant. We still need to do some video recording over on the east side, preferably before winter. We have some pipes that we fear might be collapsed or allowing some water in over there on the east side. Our water department, the water line replacement project is moving along smoothly and very quickly. I'm gonna let Bob speak a little bit more on that, but they have the new water main that are under South Perry, Walnut, North Perry. They haven't done the pits or the lines from the main to the pit yet. Bob, did you have anything to add to that, Warren?
Yeah, they've got South Perry, they've got North Perry from Maine to North Market, and they're right now working on the section from Harrison to High. And then starting, next week, I would say, we also have, there's sections from Maine on Pearl up to Harrison, across Harrison, and then up Washington. So that's still to come. They'll also, we heard back from IDEM and we can start pressure testing and disinfecting on or after October 17th. So we did get that through. And also we can start the service installations at that point in time. And they're also looking at getting started on the booster stations. So getting like pads for the generators and things, but that work is coming up. Just and to let you know, issues that we have encountered. The force main that comes from the east side of town, the lift station was not where it was expected to be. And it ends up dumping out in on a manhole in clay between Perry and Plum. So it comes through alleys and comes through, so that became an issue, and we ended up moving the water line to the east side of the road through that area on between Clay and South Market for that block. So that was one issue we did run into. We also, the water line was shown to run through the traffic light sensors on South Sycamore. NDOT indicated that it costs $10,000 per location to install those sensors. I didn't get into questioning who was going to pay for that if that happened, but we were able to move the line on Sycamore from where it was designed on the east side over to the west side, so we got around that problem. Similarly, on North Perry Street, the line was shown running through those sensors, but there's also the sanitary sewer in the middle of the street and a storm sewer on the west side of the street. And you're supposed to have 10 feet of clearance off of both of those. We didn't have 10 feet of clearance off of those if we even put it in the middle of them. So for that reason, mainly that, not the sensors so much, but we moved it over to the east side in that first block from Main to College, and then shifted back as we ran north. And I guess the other comment then on that, NDOT also requires a permit to do work in the right of way for the generators, so I talked to Chris and we're working on getting that permit too. So both the NDOT permit and the IDIM permit, we had ended up getting instead of going through the previous engineering company. So yeah, that's the update that I had.
Bob, that, NDOT permit, is that the one that they said we didn't need?
Well, I mean, I talked to NDOT, and they said
Yeah.
I needed it, so.
Right, but VS Engineering said we did not, is that not correct? Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Back here, I put on my report Friday, I think we have it resolved now, we had a situation where we could not find a water main shut off anywhere, which does happen sometimes in the town. Especially with older properties where there've been newer buildings built around them. Electric department, working on getting everything together for the underground project in Graceland Heights. Jake's been working on IMEA classes. Met with Vince from AP to discuss our MISO capacity forecast, and that looks like it's going to be really interesting over the next couple of years. We're working on getting some additional pole attachments for Frontier. I probably need to talk to John about this. We have an existing pole attachment contract with New Lisbon Broadband and Comcast, but we've never had with Frontier. So that's something we need to work through. Streets Department, they're working again on crack sealing. Leaf pickup has began and it will be running through the middle of December. Working on ordering some new street signs for the cemetery to replace the worn out ones out there. Some other questions. I know we've had a discussion about the EDC and the land bank, and I think if I read everyone correctly, you were really more interested in participating in that. I think is what because they were wanting to meet with me one more time on that. I just want to make sure that I have a good understanding on that. We've already had a discussion about Norfolk and Southern. That has been an issue. We think, Keith and I are discussing a little bit today. I think we're going to get additional signs, just big signs that say no semis allowed past this point, and because of the railroad tracks. I don't know how else to address that. It kind of concerns me though, because most truck drivers are just listening to whatever their telephone's going to tell them to do, as far as turn here, turn there, and that kind of thing. They're not going to really pay attention to the signs, I'm afraid. We did have, was it 2 semis, Keith, this past Friday that got?
Yep, right. Friday morning, we had a incident. The second one somebody was stopped on the tracks. They shut down the railroad or trains, and then railroad called in and said they had one like 2 hours before that. It was almost struck by a plane, or by a train, but the police department was not. But police department was not notified about the first incident, so since there was 2 incidents close by, Norfolk and Southern actually had someone from the railroad came down to that location. There was some discussion about the elevation of the tracks, etc. And his response was that if they fixed it, it would be millions of dollars to fix it. So probably wasn't going to happen. And but where we're finding the majority of the incidents is when the trucks come from the south going northbound. So me and Chris talked this morning about possibly having signage at Teeter and South Street saying no trucks have to take Teeter up by the Optimus Park to get to Auto Car. That puts them coming in the area where they're actually supposed to. Hopefully that'll deter them from taking south and going up. Like Chris said, the chances of them not doing that are probably high. He's going to follow it. But if the sign's up there and then they don't do it, then we can also put on crash reports and stuff that, they were negligent for disobeying the posted signs by taking that route. So that was one of the reasons we talked about, possibly putting the sign up there prohibiting semis from going west on south.
I assume that most of the semis are going through there are going to Auto Car, right?
Probably 90%, either auto, car, or bronze is the two right there that is generating all of our semi-traffic.
I'm sure the roadsides probably aren't too expensive, but would Ron and Autocar be willing to maybe put up a big sign that says, you know, hey, our deliveries go this way, and maybe the truck drivers would recognize those more than they would a local sign? I don't know.
I mean, it's discussion.
I could discuss it with them,
Put a
Right.
sign there at Teeter and South Street and direct traffic on in on Teeter.
My only thing there is too, is if they provide that sign, then I don't know how legal that is if we try to
Enforce
enforce it
That's
with
true
a
too.
private company placing, you know, a sign prohibiting traffic on a public roadway. So,
like if we allow them to say auto car deliveries with an arrow or something, maybe that might be a way to, yeah. Right.
yeah.
So,
Bob,
All that.
in your estimate to change the elevation of that street to satisfy that problem, what was your guesstimated cost? I'm not holding you to it, just guesstimated.
It wasn't millions of dollars.
How much was it?
I can't remember offhand, but it was gonna be hundreds of thousands.
400,000?
Yeah, something.
There's a couple things going on with the storm drainage that needs to be addressed. There's this street grade itself, the railroad tracks, this tracks on the north side need to be lifted up or down, or down the way left, yeah.
I'm trying to help. So in your negotiation, they say it's millions. If they would give us 800,000, we'll take care of it.
You know, and Chris even brought up a great.
I mean, I think that's
About
fair.
the ADA compliance there, because
There's no one to do it.
you can't cross it.
So I think we could come out all right on this.
Would need a geo bond at that point.
And it'd be fair for it's very fair for them. It saves them millions.
Right.
That's what they said, millions. So it saves them millions.
You get a bunch of help from the water project, right?
We'll get everything fixed and everybody's happy. And they save millions, and that's who I care about, Sam.
Yeah.
They save millions. Okay,
No, the other thing I have, I'm trying to get some quotes on the Forstner that's out here to get it all three done. Out front,
Hey, Chris.
yes.
Up there between my place and my neighbors, there's a storm right after the front. And the lid. Look back up, it's been like that for a while,
Okay,
it's full of leaves.
that's not good. Okay.
Thankfully, we haven't had any rain to, every time we do get a real heavy rain, kind of builds up there.
We'll get her.
I don't know why they keep putting it back over.
so Chris, can I bring up are you gonna bring up the explanation points there or the little start points?
I'll leave that up to you guys if you want to.
Okay. I want to bring up the second one, if I can. So, the transformer. So, Mr. Wicks contacted me and they're getting ready to make a pretty substantial expansion on Manchester. About, I wouldn't say double, but a large expansion there. And the machines that they want to put in is basically going to take the same type of transformer that they currently have there now. And this is before me as well, but Mike said that the first time they built the building, one thing that the town did to help them out was they placed the transformer there for them. They didn't have to incur that cost. And so he was wondering if there would be any interest from town council to doing that again. And so you see kind of what the cost of that is. And I guess my thought is for us to think about is we kept the EDC money and that's for economic development. And this is creating, I believe he said 14 to 18 additional jobs.
That was gonna be my question.
14 to 18 additional jobs, and it's a huge capital it's a huge capital investment. Over 6 digits to go in there. So that should help our tax base as well when you have that. So, they're not really asking for a whole lot more than that. And so they was kind of wanting to know where town council would stand on that. That's why I wanted to bring that up, because he did contact me and I just don't want it hanging out there that we've done nothing.
What's the timeline?
I believe the construction starts next year, isn't it?
I think Tom might know more about that than I do.
I don't have a start date, I haven't gotten the construction sign released from the state on the project yet, so no permits have been issued locally this time.
Okay.
And then,
They're in a hurry.
And it's a pretty substantial,
I think it's 40,000 square feet on the backside, 5,000 square feet on.
I mean, it's a big expansion.
Donnie wants to know if they'll be seeking an abatement of any kind for the county or.
Did not ask. Well, I don't know from the county. That would not be in our hands, county. They haven't asked from us.
Chris, I noticed on your report, you said $25,000 for a refurbished
Correct.
transformer. What's the cost difference between a refurbished one and a new one, and what kind of, who would incur the cost if the refurbished one fails?
Yeah, all right, the brand new one is 70,000 right now, so it's a pretty substantial difference. Most of the transformers we're purchasing at this point are refurbished ones.
Okay.
And I discussed it with Joe Favorite. He seems to have a good amount of faith in the refurbished ones. But I kind of wondered that same thing. If it does, if it only lasts 3 or 4 years, what are we gonna do then? But I guess still, even if you replace it, 50,000 is less than 70,000. So.
Yeah.
And I was out there last year for their addition of the new line, and the new machine that they put in, that was $1 million machine. So I anticipate what I think they said, that they're closing another, because this is, Manchester is separate from the property owners.
Yeah.
It's a separate company, and they're closing down a manufacturing plant somewhere, and they shipped everything to us. So I think this investment is well worth it in the end.
And they're a large consumer too. If you look at their electric bills, I think they have one usually for the office area, and then they have one for the plant area, and it's, a couple $1,000s each month.
So you could
Recoup that in a year.
see, that's different. You're not really just putting money out that you're never gonna recoup. This is actually, you're gonna recoup it in usage.
Are they willing to like share the expense? So if, let's say it's, 50/50 or 25/75?
I'm sure they will, but then they might ask for a low interest EDC loan. It might cost you more.
Pass them. But I know we gave out 100,000 out of the EDC, and didn't we spend a little bit more out of that too, something else?
That was brought into it. That was the appropriation we brought back into from the county for the demolition of the one property.
Oh, yeah.
When does more money come back into that?
The
It's twice a year, right?
Every month.
Every month. And then who owns the building?
The Wicks own the building.
And then they lease it to Manchester, right?
They have pretty long-term leases.
I would assume we have a month or two to think on it, and then
I just want to respond back that we at least brought it to them and would be getting back with them on it. I just didn't want to act like we're not doing anything.
What the lead time was.
They did not tell me, or for the transformer. I didn't know that.
And I think with what Donnie says, he agreed that the property owner should share the cost of that. That was my thought.
anything further. Okay, Julie, what do you have from your desk for us?
No, that she's,
Huh?
well, pack.
Yeah.
So we got 4 different invoices. Right? So we have the main one from Earthworks, which you're gonna have to sign out. And Bob's already signed off on it. 269,011.80 for this. for earthwork. And then we have Bob's engineering invoice for 4,500. And then we have, Pine Barrier Consulting for 5,000. That was for the environmental review.
Oh, so that goes to Klein Peter.
Yeah. And then we got a invoice from DS Engineering. For $2,915, and this was back. In March and April.
What exactly was that for?
So that's what that's in here.
Building time's $150 an hour,
I don't
and
know.
then engineer two, it's 4 hours at $170 an hour. It says the Build America, Buy America forms, and then project manager spent 2 hours reviewing them at $170 per hour.
I asked Mike about it, and he said, that was the time frame. But I don't know why they're waiting now to.
John, did you ever reach out to them to see about the $7,500 in permit fees that they charged and didn't file the permits?
So I haven't yet. I wanted to talk to Chris and Bob and make sure I understood exactly what the permits were that they didn't get. And then, we may have additional damages other than just the $7,500. If that issue caused a delay, which then causes Indiana Earthworks maybe not to be able to finish this year where they otherwise would have, we may have additional damages. So I have not done anything yet. But Chris and Julie and I talked about that a little bit on Friday, that I need to get something to them, kind of a shot across the bow to say, look, you got the wrong, you didn't do what you needed to do. We paid you for it, but you had to essentially have it done again. And, we're holding the door open for potential damages for additional delays. So.
So with that, my suggestion would be to hold this invoice.
Yeah, we just got it last week.
Yeah, I would just hold this invoice. And if they don't respond on John's comments and then they respond on this, we can switch it right back to them, say, well, until you respond to John, we're not gonna respond on this.
I'll try to get with Chris and we'll make sure we get exactly, something to Lou and,
Because it looks to me like it's worth all this billable time, this document prep for grant administration.
That's what it looks like.
It looks to me like they're charging us because we carved stuff out of the original project. So
the original contract had, what I consider to be kind of top end numbers that were in there. Like the $7,500, that was like a fixed fee, and I think the other categories had that too. So I don't know if they're just kind of making up time to fill in whatever gaps they can and make sure they bill us for what they're allowed to.
contract documents. Final edits to agreement and correspondence, printing and binding spec book. So, I think they're trying to recoup as much as they can because we cut their engineer.
Yeah, well, you know that.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to approve all the invoices presented by the clerk with the exception of the invoice for $2,950 from ESG.
so
Properly moved and seconded that we approve the Klein Peter Consulting at 5,000, Warner Engineering invoice at 4,500, and Indiana Earthworks at $269,011.80. Those three invoices. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Anything else? Yes. Next regular council meeting will be Monday, November 3rd at 6:30 p.m. Everybody had a chance to review the claims as presented.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded that we approve the claims as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Properly moved and seconded, we adjourned. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.
Good.
So you never have a work session.
Where did you think go?
Well, I was hoping to sneak out and maybe no one would know.
I gave you the information for the insurance adjuster. I got the voting. I'm gonna call it, but I just wanted to give it a chance.
Hey.
Hey, but it's.
More than that.
Hello.
They're eligible to- it was a package.
I had.
Yeah, I get.
So I'm gonna let him talk about the fancy stuff, but so we're back to myself. And I had to apologize. I was supposed to be to that meeting, but some things in nature don't cooperate and I couldn't get there. So, but I did talk to him on the telephone. So, as you well know, you all know this, the MISO for this quarter has just been extraordinary,
66650.
Yeah. 666.
Sounds a
It's a bad, it's a bad number.
Yeah.
So 666, it's been a bad number. But we had the hedge money there, but we haven't really had to get into that, so we're okay. So just remember that 666 has kind of just been hanging on, breaking even. Okay, just remember that number. We haven't made any money, we haven't lost a lot of money, but it's not where you want to be, but we hung in there. Okay. So the trouble with, and I think this is what they're gonna blame it on. I don't know who you blame it on, but because of all the AI, it takes tons of energy. And because our government has shut down all of the reliable energy sources and made us go to renewable energy, which is unreliable.
It's fine.
MISO fees are going to be more than what we're used, more than what we're used
Just
to.
adding here, Donnie.
So if you look at this year, and Chris will probably tell you this, but our numbers this year was like in the 30s, 666, 93, and then 36. So that's what we're gonna do this year. If you do that average, if you look at that average, that's around $250, $240. That's the average for the year. So why I asked Chris to ask for this meeting is Vince, there is a utility provider that has some electricity that's unspoken for. And they would be willing for the next 2 years, and that's why they're trying to get all this AI figured out. To let the government figure it out that renewable energy isn't going to be the answer, and they got to figure out how to do reliable energy. Okay. And so they were talking about giving us a MISO contract for $245 a month for the next 2 years. So that's set. We don't have to worry about it going up and down. Now remember, the 666 is kind of been a break even. We're probably going to average 225 and 245 this year in. So that opportunity is not going to sit there very long. Maybe this week, maybe next week. And then that goes away. Not putting the pressure on us, but other communities will yank onto it if we don't. So I asked Chris to put this together so you could kind of see numbers, you know, where we're at and what kind of monies we made on that. And then he's got some assumptions down at the bottom. Now, Chris and I, our view is they're asking 245. But what is it, 247?
261.
Oh, 261 for 2 years, if we go to 2 years. Is that the 1 year?
Just a second.
So it's a 1 year number and a 2 year number.
I did the 2 year number.
2 year numbers.
What am I not looking at here right here? 263, there it is right here.
Okay.
So that would be planning year 27, 26, 27, 27, 28 for 263.
Okay, so they're throwing 263 at us. We're wondering if we ought to throw back 215 at them. That we would take the 2 years at 215. They'll probably come back. Hopefully we get in the middle. 230.
Ryan,
Yes.
so my thought mind is kicking in. Why are we so special to get this special deal?
Well, we're not so special.
Why did they come? I'm just asking, why us first? Why did they?
Well, remember, in the state of Indiana, AEP does not have that many clients. We're one of their few clients in Indiana, so, and we have been their longest client. So I think Vince has tried to put us in the front because of that, but he can't hold it forever.
No, I understand that. It's just,
Yeah.
again, suspicious minds.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, my suspicious mind as well is too, but I am like Vince. I mean, on my other side of my occupation, I read all the time that these AI companies are trying to put together their own electric generating plants because they're just going to pull so much electricity and so much electricity, and it's electricity needs are going to go up. And this renewable energy, the state of Indiana is a prime example. We ought, and I still think we ought to have our senator and our House representative in here because I don't think they understand this. I think they're clueless. I think they've made a lot of bad decisions in the state of Indiana and across the country, closing down perfectly fine plants because they just don't like what they're burning. And so we sell it all to China, and then the Airstream just brings it back over and drops it on us anyhow. So you get it anyhow. Doesn't make any sense to me, but that's where I'm at. So we'll still have our hedge fund, which is a nice hedge fund. But this will hedge us for 2 more years without having to, we know we won't have to spend any money out there because somewhere around $600, we're okay. If we can lock it in at 250, 245, we know we're going to be okay. We're not going to be losing money. So that hedges us for 2 years. It lets our hedge money sit there and be there in place. And then 2 years from now, let's just hope that, and Vince did say that, and this is on a recorded thing, that a lot of the state's politicians have realized that they kind of maybe need to rethink their thinking.
So so an electric supplier has realized that they're going to have more electricity available than previously thought.
More capacity, not electricity.
Yeah,
Capacity.
capacity.
Yeah, correct.
So is there a possibility then that there's going to be another provider who's going to go, hey, we overshot the Mark II, so we're going to have more capacity than what we needed. And then 6 months from now, the 215 is now down into 135 mark.
That's
Highly unlikely, but
It's just, yeah, it's just one of those hypothetical
I
things.
mean,
It's always a possibility, isn't it?
it's always,
Yeah, it's like rolling dice.
provider came along and overshot the mark. Are we looking at other providers that may have done it too? So we may. Do you see what I'm saying? Just this one provider made a mistake? Is this one provider?
PG.
PJM is Ohio and now, I think, West Virginia and Ohio.
Yeah, Donnie, I mean, that's why we set up the hedge fund, so we didn't feel like we had to be held hostage, but
I mean, I'm not against it. I'm just asking the question.
yeah, we could do.
Remember, they come in and preach us doom and gloom a couple of years
Oh,
ago.
yeah.
Says summer, we're going to use all this electricity, and we're going to get.
Yeah,
And it never came about. Then they come in and said it's going to be a cold winter. They throw all this stuff at us
I know.
to scare us into buying their electricity at a higher rate.
Capacity.
Capacity.
Because remember, we have our electricity rates contracted through
2031 or 2, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They always come in. I
yeah,
remember sitting there thinking, how are these people predicting the weather 6 months out? We can't even get it right in 5 days.
so that's why I wanted to set up the hedge thing so they couldn't hold us hostage.
Yes.
My thing is We know our utility rates will cover us at 662. If we can lock into 225 to 235, we're hedging that we're guaranteed to always be making money.
And I'm okay with that. I don't know. Those were just questions.
Yeah.
This comes up, just in my mind, sitting there thinking, these people kind of preach doom and gloom.
Yeah, I
And
know.
It may happen. It may happen.
It may, and I don't know the answers, and I told Vince, I asked Vince the same time, I said, why do I have to do it? And he says, you guys were smart hedging. Most people didn't do that. But you hedged and you were smart.
He also said we're the only people that don't gamble. He said everyone else locks in their capacity.
He says you're one of the,
We gamble.
we're one of the few that gamble. And I guess, here's what I don't like, Donnie. I mean, I don't like the hands that this thing has been put into, and I'm gonna say the hands are the politicians or the people and I believe they will continually make poor decisions on electric plants. That's going to throw more reliance on renewable energy, but the trouble I got is now the federal government is not going to subsidize renewable energy going forward. So how much renewable energy is actually going to come in the pipeline the next 2 years? Because we know we got 3 more years of this because we have a president that ain't going to budge on that.
Right.
So,
Think if it's going to show up, be able to make money on it, not lose money, then we should do it. I mean, that's clearly, those are just questions. I mean,
yeah, well, I asked the same questions. You ask Chris, I call in here, I ask him to do this stupid thing, the blackouts. We're gonna have blackouts.
rolling blackouts.
I asked Chris to get on the Indiana site and ask Siri or how many Indiana blackouts have we had? None other than related storm weather. Weather. We did not have one blackout, and we was going to have blackouts everywhere.
No.
So I get tired of that talk, holding that threat over us. But sitting in here, I got to keep Hagerstown's best interest, and with politicians doing what they're doing with energy plants, and I don't feel good about them. So I guess I'm wanting to hedge against their poor decisions and give us 2 years to see what they decide to do. I mean,
I'm okay with that. Like I said, those were just questions.
And I think they're good questions. And Chris, you got a lot of paper you want to add to. Show them the last.
Well, there's 2 things I want to say. Okay, 2020, the planning year 2022-2023. So if you look on your spreadsheet here at 2022, and you go down halfway under the electric revenue column, and that is where the MISO for that planning year 236.66 kicked in, and that's where we started losing money right in there, and you see a negative number, and then
5,000.
Yeah, and so we had a couple months there on through till December when we adjusted the rates where we were just.
But we did adjust the rates to address that.
So we had that. So that's when we had high MISO with low rates. But then if you look at 2024, you look at the end of that year, we had record. I hate to say profit, but record revenue there on 2024, and that's when we had low MISO and higher rates. The combination of those created that. So then 2025, here we are back to this quarterly thing. So we're having rates all over the place.
So Donnie, if you could see this, in this year, in June, our revenue was at a $25,000 net loss. And in July, it was 11,000. In August, we eked out a 4,500 positive number. So if you look at the whole thing, we lost about $30,000. Now, that's at 666. You know, we just can't handle 660, but the next 2 months are gonna fall way down and then we're gonna make that up.
Right.
So if you look at the bottom chart here, it says hypo, 263 megawatt day. I just basically plugged in, let's take, what I did is I took the last year, so September 2024 through, August of 2025, and I used our electric bill amounts, the same amounts. So in other words, the same usage, but I then changed the cost to where the MISO capacity would be this 263 megawatt day. And as you can see, our electric revenue, even at that, and we're saying we want to offer lower than that. So the 263, we're actually fairly profitable there.
Almost 700,000 to the good side.
Mhm.
And I think we can, I hope that Vince would try to negotiate us down to that 245, 250. See if we can get in there.
Down as low as we can.
Yeah, Chris and I are thinking we throw 215 back at him. He'll throw a fit, but we'll see if he can earn some of his money.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But even 263 will be okay, right? If
Oh, no, at 260, he put this in at 260.
yeah, but let's say he doesn't bust.
Yeah, we'll be all right.
We would be like 2015, 16, 17, revenue or profit. But that also being said, right now, we really don't have any big, except for, like Grace High's project, that kind of stuff. We don't have any big capital expenses to lay out, like it.
Yeah.
We've got the trucks, we're in good shape on all that stuff.
And we got the possibility of that $400,000 from that.
Correct.
Yeah. So I don't like, I told Chris, I don't like, they put all this fear, put all this fear, this is really gonna happen. They don't have no more clue what's gonna happen when we do.
Right. Remember, the world was gonna come in at midnight on January 1st, 2000, and not a darn thing happened.
And you know what? We played the gamble, and Vince said you guys made a ton of money by doing that. We played the gamble. Sometimes you take your money and walk away from the table and then you do the safe play. And I think we made a lot of money. We put it aside. We made good capital investments. We built, what's our MISO fund? Is it 175 or?
We added to it.
I think it
I
is.
think because
I don't know.
it was 150 and then we put 25 more in there just to have a little bit of.
So you look at our capital expenditures we did, we put $175,000 away. Our electric line is still healthy. Take our money and get away from, and maybe play off of them a little bit. I mean, yeah, I'll kick myself if it comes in at $60, but what if it comes in just at 350? You just lost $100. I mean,
It's a 24-year commitment, right?
I think we ought to go to the 2-year commitment and let's try to figure out, it'll give us the time to see what our states and our government is going to do.
I mean, it's a guaranteed 2-year, we're gonna know where we're at.
Brings us to a safe spot. Yeah, safe spot.
Yeah.
Yes, safe spot.
So then within those 2 years, if we start seeing that it's, gonna be higher and higher and higher, how do we adjust?
We better start putting more money in our MISO line. And the other thing, none of us want to hear it, but if you see that coming, we're gonna have to adjust our electric rates. I mean, or we do geo bonds and try to do our capital expenditures on that side. And
The taxpayers one way or the other.
you're getting them it might be cheaper on that side. We can only talk this, right? We can't talk anything else.
I think that's.
Okay.
Anything you want, you can't make a motion.
Okay, so I want to get John's feedback just a little bit, because I seen he was a little antsy on that. because he sat on a school board.
Mhm.
John made a comment, well, you know, you're going to get it from, you're going to affect something, because if it doesn't come from the citizens, it's going to come from the library and the schools and.
Right, so it's kind of a race from each taxing unit to do your geo bond, really.
And you realize what she said, I think our school bonds everything they can bond to death.
And they do. Well, I mean, I don't know about Hagerstown, but I mean, that's how schools fund everything is they bond.
Or they
Yeah.
bond us to death.
Well, I heard a bond, but I didn't understand what the heck it was.
So, we can do the geos, we can lock in this money, and maybe we can hold our utilities, but Dylan, you got a good question. We see out here that they're coming in $300-400 every quarter. Then, it'll give us a little time to slowly adjust our utility rates so that when we get to the end of the 2 years, we won't be in trouble.
And
On top of that, because we kind of drag our feet sometimes as a council when it comes to that.
Yeah, so we'll have to be Vince can tell us what the MISO is for every quarter.
Yeah,
So in 2025, he'll be able to tell you what the MISO was for each quarter, and it'll make us look smart, it'll make us look dumb, or it'll make us look like we're just average citizens out here. We just did an okay deal. But if you make an okay deal and no risk, that's all right.
that's. I think it's a good thing.
So, all right, so I guess we can't make a motion, but we can give Chris the authority to move forward on the agreement, or can we not do that?
I mean, I think you can, I think Chris knows what to do.
Yeah.
And then you take final action in a public meeting, get approved.
So we start at 2:15.
2:15.
See what we get. Okay.
Because regardless where it stands, or regardless where Chris makes it, we'll still be okay.
Yeah.
And that's where I was getting at, worst case scenario, they don't want to bargain at all, it's 263 a megawatt.
You're gonna make,
This is-
about 700,000.
Yes. Yeah,
If we can get it down, you're gonna make between 7 and 9.
Yeah.
And this doesn't factor in the transmission's going to go up a little bit. So I mean, all the numbers are skewed and thrown off a little bit, but I think we're still okay, so yeah.
Now, there's so many moving parts to this that it just is, it's very frustrating. This whole thing's very frustrating. And Vince don't even like to get around me because I just get, I told Vince, I said, we look at our parents' generation and we say the worst thing they ever did was take out all the revenues.
yeah,
Okay,
I've said that many times.
the next generation is gonna look at us and say that you folks were stupid. You took down all these power plants.
Yeah.
And now we can't afford to build it again. And we don't have electricity because of you. Because you took them down.
And a perfect example of that, I stood on the board for a nonprofit amateur radio organization, and we had a meeting up in Winchester this Saturday before last. So I'm driving up State Road 1, and as I'm getting up to MODOC, I noticed that not one of those wind turbines was turning, not one of them. Now, it's my understanding that most of the power they generate gets transmitted out to the East Coast anyhow, but not one of those generators was on.
Because they're not efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not, even the utility companies will say solar and power, or solar and wind, if you add them together, they're 50% reliable. 50% reliable.
And these municipalities are putting in solar fields like it's a national pastime.
And you know what fossil fuel is? 98.5. Because they just twist the little valve a little bit.
Yeah.
Or twist it this way a little bit.
I don't know if you guys follow the county stuff at all, but I-70 and State Road 109, they're trying to rezone about 600 acres for a technology park / data center. Part of the reason they picked that land is because there's a natural gas pipeline and they're gonna put in their own power plant,
Yeah.
is the vision.
Wow.
That's brilliant.
So if you've been out 38 west of Newcastle, there's what they call a peaking plant that is outside of Caddis. Caddis. That's kind of the thing that they're gonna put in that park, but they're gonna run it more. The peaking plant's just for high demand. I think they can only run it like 10 or 11% of the time for when it's really cold or really hot and demand is up. But anyway, to your point, I mean, that's what they're looking at doing, is they're gonna use so much power, they're gonna build their own plant,
And guess what they want to run it off of?
natural gas.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because my son, who works as an energy attorney, that's all they do. He'll tell you, and these energy companies aren't stupid. He'll tell you that they've got enough natural gas down in cavities under the ground that they are confident for 100 or 150 years, and it's as clean as it can be. Natural gas is just clean.
Yeah.
And it's just there and it's ours.
You remember back about 30 years ago when we started drilling oil in, Delaware County? You know, you still see those oil wells off of 35. Every one of them had a pipe come out of the ground that constantly burned off natural gas so they could pump the oil out because the natural gas was on top of it. And they just burn round the clock.
It's, you know, they've got to figure out, and I told Vince, I said, Vince, take it from somebody that knows more than anybody, me. You electric companies got to start investing your money in converting your current plants to natural gas. He said, but Brian, you don't understand, it takes millions of dollars. I said, you tell me what you're spending on these turbines and these darn solar fields. And he says, well, you don't understand. I said, I understand this. I just got a letter in the mail from a solar company that just offered my mother $3,000 an acre. And you're telling me that that's going to be cheap electricity?
And those wind generators have a lifespan. And it's my understanding that once they stop, they just leave them. They don't go back and, you know, like put a new turbine in or something. They just leave them, and now the whole landscape looks.
Because they're not going to be subsidized.
Yeah.
And
Subsidized.
they can't make it without subsidy. You know,
Well,
they can't, and
itself, because you know, you have all the glass companies in Delaware County and up in Randolph County, many years ago built there because of the natural gas reserves.
Yeah.
think about it.
Anchor hockey and ball.
Yep.
I don't know what they can't figure out on this. Every new renewable energy is subsidized. All fossil fuel is taxed
Yeah.
at a very high rate
Yeah.
because it's profitable.
Any of you guys watch Landman?
Yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton goes on a diatribe about the wind turbines. It's really good. Of course, there's a lot of profanity in it, but his point is basically everything that we use is petroleum based. He talked about how many yards of concrete, how much steel, how much diesel, you gotta have a crane to come out and put up the turbine. He goes, you know, it'll be years before this wind turbine replaces its carbon footprint that it had to generate to be built.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
What did you say that was called?
Landman, that's great. It's a really good show.
I think the shop is closed in about 30 minutes. Good night, three boys. I missed it.
All right. Hey,
See you, Donnie.
See you next week.
See you, Donnie.
Thanks.
Be careful coming home.
See ya.
All right, that's what we will do. We'll contact you tomorrow.
Hey, all right.
don't run away.
I won't. Got your checkbook out.